Welcome folks, Hobo Rider back here with you once again, and we are currently in Scotland. And where I'm standing right now is in an abandoned World War II airfield, and the name of that airfield, back then anyhow, was called Novar. Currently the airfield is abandoned. A lot of the hangars are just kind of fallen down, but some of the hangars are actually used for different industries. But with that, I'd like to welcome you to, this is going to be basically maybe a 2 or 3 step project. We're going to talk about oil derricks, as you know, the oil platforms themselves that are used for oil drilling in the ocean. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of this particular airfield, as well as some others that I hope to be visiting. So I hope you follow along with that, folks, here in Scotland as I ride. Yeah, let's see, I've been riding for almost a month now, and believe me, the weather has been really nice, but the wind is wicked cold. So really not sure how much longer this is going to go on, but we're going to create some stories nonetheless. So once again, this is Hobo Rider looking back at you one more time, and I welcome you. Thank you. So what we're looking at here is the actual inside of one of these hangars through an opening. Not really sure what it's for, but somebody's opened it up. But you get an idea as to the size of this massive hangar. This is just a little offshoot, one of the sides that we're looking through. Here you can see the size of this crane. It's 5,000 kilograms, so you multiply that times 2.2. and you have the pounds, and then you can see where it runs on these tracks across the floor. So as I said, this was used for multi-purpose with regards to the aviation things that were going on here. Really, really incredible stuff. These are some of the more of the tracks that large crane inside would actually come outside and operate on, but it's been closed off a long time ago. But nonetheless, that's what these tracks are for. The outbreak of World War II in September 1939 brought about the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force taking over the station and calling it the RAF Eventon. It's fairly obvious on this particular building here that it was a gun emplacement. You can see the holes where your armament would come through. We'll see if I can get a little bit better video of it here in a minute. Well, I'm actually inside of the building right now. Got to watch my footing. Not only that, but I don't know what else might be in here. So hang on just a second. Alright, so now what you're looking at here is the pipe where the gun was actually mounted to it. Not sure what size it might have been, but nonetheless, you're peeking at out here, and now you're looking out at the bay. And anybody that's coming in from this direction to the airfield for, let's just say, ill purpose, will be spotted early on and hopefully being able to take them out, as well as any kind of foot soldiers that come in from the sea. You got to remember, this was World War II in England. And we're looking at some remnants of some smaller buildings here. It looks to me like this might have been where the where the toilets were, but I don't know. So this building here, or what's left of it, was actually at the end of one of these runways, so Not sure what its purpose was, but maybe I can look it up and find out. But it's actually in pretty good shape. It doesn't have a roof anymore, but the walls are good. So what we're looking at here is where one of the main runways actually used to be. Looking out towards the bay here, if you will. And then if I turn around, you can see that it continues that direction. Of course, it's a plowed field now. And then if you look out this direction, that's where another runway was. And then of course this is where all the hangars are still. But there's a lot of buildings obviously that are not there anymore since 1952. So what we're looking at here again is another one of the runways, and it actually, what you're looking at here, it goes into the property of what's called the Aerodrome Spool company, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But as we turn around, and then the runway continues out to where the bay is, or the ocean is. So what we're looking at now is where another runway, smaller runway was, that goes up to the woods up there and crosses the end of the longer runway. I know it's hard to imagine, but nonetheless, just trying to give you some kind of idea as to where the runways used to be. So let's take a little time and talk briefly about the history of this particular aerodrome, as well as operations that took place here. And I use the term aerodrome because in Scotland and England, that's how it's referred to rather than an airport, although they do call it the airfield as well. So I just wanted to clarify that. So this particular aerodrome was founded in 1922, and it was founded on the Novar estate land, and then consequently the initial name for it was Novar. And what was the primary reason for this particular airfield? The main reason, at least the one that started, was for the Royal Navy. And not too far from this particular location is the deep water port of Invergordon. And this is where the aircraft carriers could actually come in, take the airplanes off, bring them to the airfield, or fly them off and fly them to the airfield. So its primary purpose here initially was for that. So in conjunction with what the Navy was doing at this particular aerodrome, the Royal Air Force was also here. And they had a number of different schools. They had a gunnery school as well as a bombing school. And at this particular school, or schools, they would teach the gunnery aspects, and that was done with the Blackburn Botha, which, the airplane had particular gun emplacements on it, which you can see in this particular picture. As well as a bombing school where they would train people as far as their bombing operations go. And it was primarily there again done with the Blackburn Botha. In conjunction with that, the Navy as well as the Royal Air Force considered this a major training site for air crews as well as pilots. And this went on continuously through the World War II, but backing up a little bit, in September of 1939, this actually was when Britain actually entered World War II. And so the operations at this particular airfield at that point in time highly intensified, if you will. Another operation that took place as the war was winding down is the United States Air Force came into this facility. And what they were doing is they were actually flying balloons. And they were supposed to be meteorological balloons, but in reality what they were is they were actually spy balloons, because at that point in time we went into what was called the Cold War, and so Cold War with Russia. And so consequently they were using these balloons to take pictures of facilities, let's just say, outside of their normal environment. Another operation that I didn't mention, and I will now, and that was there was originally the number 8 Armament and Bombing Group, but in conjunction with that there was also a number 8 Air Observer School, and that actually took place, or actually started in 1939, September 1939, when Britain actually entered World War II. So I just wanted to add that as well as one of the operations. And then in 1944, if I have the date correct, in 1944, the aerodrome or airfield was turned over to the Royal Navy. And then the Royal Navy used it primarily for aircraft maintenance as well as storage. There was as many as 250 aircraft stored here at one time. And so it was used to a great deal for that purpose after the war. And then I believe it was, let me check here, I believe it was in 1956 that the entire aerodrome and airfield was actually returned to the Novara estate. It was also used as a major, as I think I briefly mentioned before, it was also used as a major site for training of pilots and aircrew. I want to make sure I didn't leave that out if I did. So with that, let's bring this thing to a conclusion, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So bringing this particular project to a close, I also want to mention that this particular airfield or aerodrome actually closed in 1956. And at that point, like a lot of these places, it fell into disrepair and people just forgot about it. Although some of the particular hangars, as previously mentioned, actually house particular industries at this particular time and place. So, but I just wanted to mention that it did officially, as far as aviation purposes go, closed in 1956. And with that, I just want to say I hope that this has been somewhat informative and educational for you, as it has been for me. It's an incredible history of a lot of these aerodromes that takes place, and unfortunately a lot of stuff that took place there, or at many of these, has actually been forgotten, and a lot of the things have just been abandoned. But we have much of our freedom today due to the things that took place at aerodromes, at airfields like this, all during World War II. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for following along, and I look forward to seeing you on another project. I'm not really sure what it's going to be, but we'll find one, or as one lady put it, they find me. So this is Hobo Rider looking back at you, and thank you very much for watching.